On the island of Sodor, there are many lovely places for tourists to visit. There are trails and picnic areas, beaches for children to play in the sand and water, and there's also many trains to ride to explore more of the island. The Harwick branch line has some lovely spots for guests to visit as well, such as Arnsborough Harbour or Harwick Station, where summer homes stood close to the beach. But to Liz, the small blue saddle tank engine, the Harwick Yard is no lovely place. Everywhere around her was brown earth and grey rocky cliffs. Before the Harwick branch line was made, Sodor construction excavators, workmen and several steam engines all teamed up to create the branch line that stood today. However, in doing so, they had torn up the green grass and other plant life that once stood.
That's it for now. You look pretty there, Liz. How about we go to Knapford? Maybe your brother Percy will be there to cheer you up.
Liz's spirits rose a bit as she left the yard for the afternoon. On her way to Knapford, she couldn't help but admire the green fields, blue streams and colourful flowers that stood next to the railway tracks. This made her slow down as Liz continued looking at the scenery. By the time she reached the Knapford shunting yard, it was already evening and the sun was starting to set. Percy was just finishing his shunting for the day when he heard a familiar whistle behind him.
Hey, Percy.
Hello, Liz. What are you doing here?
Well, I just thought I'd say hi to my little brother.
At this hour? Come on, sis. I know there's something else to this.
Henry had just arrived at the shunting yard, dropping off some empty trucks. He couldn't help but listen to Liz and Percy's conversation.
Alright, you got me, Percy. I just wanted to get out of the Harwick Yard for the afternoon.
What's wrong? Don't you like shunting?
Oh yes, of course I do, Percy. But ever since the Harwick branch line was first constructed last summer, I only see brown and grey. I do wish there was more green and yellow and blue and... Nah, that sounds silly.
No, it's not. I think I know what you're talking about, Liz. Come with me, I have something to show you.
Liz was first hesitant, but Henry had heard their private conversation. But she followed him out of the shunting yard and over to a part of the island she hadn't been to before. There was still some sunlight when they finally reached their destination, Henry's Forest. Liz was in awe at everything around her. The tall green trees, the small wildlife, and flowers of every colour.
Wow, this is exactly what I need, Henry. I wish I could take some of this with me back to the Harwick Yard.
Well, you can't really take a forest with you, Liz, but you can make a garden.
A garden?
It's somewhat like the forest, but much smaller. It may not contain tall trees as these, but you could still include plants and flowers, and maybe even a pond.
Henry, you're brilliant! I should create a garden. It won't be in the yard though, but I'll find someplace else to put it. I'll let it be a surprise for Ryan and Daisy. It could be my secret garden. Thanks for the help, Henry.
Henry smiled as he watched Liz leave the forest in a hurry, for the light blue tank engine had a million thoughts and ideas in her smoke box. The next day, Liz had puffed to the Sodor Construction Company yard where Jack and the pack were. Liz's crew talked to Miss Jenny about Liz's secret garden idea, and Miss Jenny agreed. Soon, Jack and Alfie were loaded onto rail flatbeds for Liz to take to the Harwick Yard.
I don't think I've built a garden before.
What's a garden?
It's kind of like a small forest. It may not have trees, but it will have lovely plants and flowers and a pond.
Sounds interesting.
Byron was being secured on Nelson for him to be carried to the yard.
But I don't understand. What do we get to do to make this garden?
I've already figured it out. Just come to the Harwick Yard and I'll explain everything. Trust me.
Oliver started rolling to the Harwick Yard by road, followed by Nelson, who carried Byron with him.
Isabella, my crew has given your driver a list of things we need at the floral department. Just take care of the loads, as they're kind of fragile.
Well, as long as it doesn't have any dirt, then I'll take good care of them. See you later.
I should have told her there was soil on the list, didn't I?
The three laughed as Liz was the last to leave, pulling the two construction vehicles on rail flatbeds behind her. When Liz first arrived at the Harwick Yard with Jack and Alfie, she was lucky to not find Ryan or Daisy in the yard. Only Jerome and Judy, the breakdown train, were sitting off on a siding, fast asleep. Liz kept as quiet as she could as she snuck through the yard and out to the other side. She was heading down the line that goes to Arsborough Harbour, but Liz stopped just before a fork. On the right was the track to the harbour. The left was an incomplete track, for it was the line that was meant to go to the harbour, but a cavern had opened the ground and work stopped, for it was unsafe. Liz's driver switched the points to the left track, and Liz slowly ascended forward, close to the cavern that was still there with a large opening. She then stopped that was close, but far away from the cavern.
Are you sure this is a good place to build it?
Well, I believe the ground is hard enough here. As long as we're not close to the cavern, I'm sure we'll be alright.
Jack, being a light vehicle than a steam engine, slowly rolled to the opening of the cavern and looked down.
Wow! I'll never forget that summer when Thomas fell in here. That was scary.
But also, Rocky had discovered that pirate ship that was down there. Isn't that something?
And that time when Thomas pushed that train of dynamite down here.
There was a horn behind them as Nelson arrived with Byron. Within minutes, the bulldozer rolled off the supports and onto the brown earth again, just as Oliver the excavator arrived shortly after.
Alright, here's how we're going to do this. Byron and Jack will have to flatten out the ground a bit and smooth it out. Alfie and Oliver, I'll need you two to help dig a pond. It's not going to be too big or too small, but still big enough for the birds to enjoy.
Right!
Soon, all four worked hard to make Liz's garden come to life. Byron and Jack used their shovels to smooth out the dirt, while Alfie and Oliver started digging a hole for the pond. They were most careful not to dig too deep, or otherwise they'd open another cavern. Later, Isabella arrived with the items from the floral department. It contained bags of fresh soil, many beautiful flowers, and a bush or two.
Oh great, you made it, Isabella!
As soon as Byron and Jack finished smoothing out the ground, and Oliver and Alfie finished digging a small hole for the pond, Liz and Isabella's crew started unloading the bags of soil and emptying it into one big pile. This let Oliver and Alfie scoop up the soil and place it around the smooth ground. Afterwards, Jack and Byron smoothed out the soil as well.
It's all starting to come together. Now while our crews can start planting the flowers and bushes, I'm going to go to the water tower, for we need water for the pond.
When Liz puffed back into the Harwick Yard, she saw Daisy the diesel rail car entering the yard from the other side. Liz knew Daisy wouldn't suspect, so she quietly made her way to the water tower, where her driver started filling up 2 barrels of water.
Hello, Liz, my dear. Filling up on water, I see.
Yes I am. And I see you're heading back to the shed?
You know me well, dear. Well, I'll let you get back from having your drink. I won't bother.
Liz sighed in relief as Daisy rolled silently into the shed for a nice long rest. When the water barrels were full, both the driver and fireman struggled to get them inside Liz's cab. When they succeeded, Liz made her way back to the secret garden where she saw the engine crews were placing the flowers in the fresh soil. Liz also noticed Oliver and Alfie scooping up small handfuls of ballast and stone and placing them so carefully around the garden and in the hole for the pond.
What are the stones for?
We thought it could protect the garden.
Yeah, like a wall or fence.
But don't worry, we're placing them around the flowers and pond like a ring. And the stones go into the hole, so when the workmen fill it with water, the pond won't become dirty or muddy. It'll stay clean.
Those are some good ideas. And now for the finishing touch.
Liz's driver and fireman rolled out the water barrels and over to the small hole where Oliver and Alfie dug up. There, they slowly filled up the hole with the water till it reached the brim. Like Oliver said, the stones made the pond cleaner and less dirty. Liz was amazed with her secret garden. It was full of colour and life that she wanted to show it to Ryan and Daisy right away. But it was getting late in the day, so Liz decided to hold it for tomorrow.
Thanks so much for your help, everyone.
The pack cheered their welcomes, and soon Jack and Alfie were placed back on the rail flatbeds for Liz to take them back to the construction company yard. Byron rolled back onto Nelson's supports, and Oliver was set to go. As Liz slowly led the party to the entrance of the Harwick Yard, she saw Daisy resting in the shed, and the breakdown train dozing in their siding as well.
Looks like the coast is clear. Let's go.
Liz started by pulling Jack and Alfie through the yard and almost to the other end, when...
Hello, Liz!
Liz froze in shock, as well as Oliver and Nelson. Right behind the party was Ryan, who was taking on water at the water tower. Liz didn't see Ryan by the tower, as it was hidden from when she first looked around the yard.
Quick, you go on without me.
Oliver and Nelson did so, along with Byron. Ryan finished taking on water and came up next to Liz.
What's going on? Why were the construction vehicles here?
Oh, well, see,
We're fixing a part of the Harwick branch line.
Really? Was there something wrong about it?
Another cavern opened up.
Oh dear. Was anyone hurt?
No, we were trying to fix the track that goes to the harbor, and,
What these two are trying to say is that there's a construction project going on down the Harwick branch line, and we recommend to not go down there until the job is done.
Oh, alright. I'll tell Daisy about it, so she'll have to take a different route tomorrow. She may not like it.
Really, you two? A cavern? Well, no matter. At least Ryan and Daisy won't be able to go down the branch line for the remainder of the day.
And Liz left the Harwick Yard with Jack and Alfie on their flatbeds. Later that night, when Liz returned to the sheds with Ryan and Daisy, a small windy rain poured down. The three engines slept through the downpour, but what Liz didn't realise was that the rain and wind caused a small muddy landslide on the unfinished track, where the secret garden was. The next morning, after the storm passed, Liz could see small branches and leaves blown across the wet yard. This suddenly made her worried, so she quickly left the shed to check on her secret garden. Ryan and Daisy saw her concerned look and decided to follow her. When Liz finally reached her garden, the landslide had destroyed it! Mud drowned the flowers and plants, the pond was now a muddy pool, and the rock wall was no help.
Oh no. All our hard work for nothing.
Is this the secret project you and your friends did yesterday?
Liz was first startled that Ryan and Daisy had snuck up behind her. She tried to think of an excuse, but there was no point in hiding anything.
I was trying to make a beautiful garden as a surprise for you two, but the rain and wind from last night destroyed it.
Why go through the trouble to make a garden?
Because I grew bored of seeing just brown and grey colours in the Harwick Yard where I spend most of my time. I wanted some flowers and grass and colour and... Oh, forget it! This was all a silly idea from the very start.
Ryan and Daisy were rather surprised as Liz puffed away backwards, still sobbing. The two engines looked at each other, and then at the buried garden.
The poor dear. I can see what she means. She must have wanted a little joy in the yard. Something full of life.
Daisy, I think I have an idea, but I may need your help.
Later that morning, Liz was in the shed, still upset over her garden, when Daisy rolled up.
Darling, I'm sorry for what happened to your garden. It was kind of you to make it for us on the branch line.
What do you want, Daisy?
What I'm trying to say, dear, is how about you and I take a stroll? Maybe take you someplace where it would calm you down.
But what about the work here in the yard and your passengers?
Oh, don't worry about a thing, dear. Ryan has agreed to look after the yard while you're gone, and my train won't be for another hour.
Well, alright. Can I suggest where we should go?
Absolutely, darling.
As Liz led Daisy out of the yard, she did notice Ryan leaving the yard as well, but in a different direction. Both he and Daisy had a plan to clear up the blue saddle tank engine. Liz and Daisy spent their morning by going through Henry's forest, which seemed to calm Liz down with the beautiful scenery and wildlife. However, she still felt a little down about her garden. But Daisy had to keep Liz occupied, so she led her to Knapford Station.
I hate to say this, darling, but I have a train in 10 minutes. Hey, why don't you go look for your brother, Percy, or another friend to talk to for an hour or so?
I guess, but why don't I go back to work in the Harwick Yard?
But dear, if you go back there, you'll feel just as awful about losing such a beautiful garden, believe me. I would have gone out for the entire day just to ease my swerves of stress. Well, I must be off.
Daisy tooted her horn and left in a hurry, leaving Liz slightly confused. Liz couldn't find Percy, so she decided to head to the Knapford shunting yard in hopes of helping, for Liz wanted to be really useful. At the shunting yard, she didn't find Percy either, but instead saw Philip, Rosie and Stanley.
Oh, hello, Liz. What brings you here?
Before I answer that, what happened to your pink color, Rosie? You're red now.
Rosie thought that red is more rosy for her. Plus, she wanted a change.
Back in my young years, I liked pink, but now I think it's a little silly. So I thought a red color would look lovely. What do you think?
I think it's wonderful, Rosie.
Liz felt much better as she chatted with her 3 friends and helped shunt some trains for the other engines. Soon, the hours flew and it was late afternoon. Liz was still enjoying her time when Daisy approached.
Dear, I've been looking for you all over. Come with me. Me and Ryan have something to show you.
Liz said her goodbyes to the 3 shunters and started following Daisy back to the Harwick Yard. When they arrived, Liz was surprised to find Ryan and the construction company vehicles there, with big smiles.
What's on this?
Follow me, Liz.
The blue saddle tank engine followed Ryan across the yard and to the other end of it, where a beautiful surprise awaited her. It was another garden, only this time it looked more colourful and lively than ever. There were more flowers and bushes, and the pond doubled in size. There was also a garden arch wrapped in vines and light blue flowers. There were daisies, tulips, sunflowers and lilies. Planted near the centre was a baby tree. Liz was so happy at the sight, she cried tears of joy.
After you and Daisy left the yard, I called in the Sodor Construction Company to help. We wanted to make your secret garden look more beautiful than ever.
Thank you, everyone. This really means a lot to me.
And so Liz's garden remained to this day. As the garden was planted in the yard instead of the branch line, no other landslides had harmed it. The rain had given the plants plenty of water, or sometimes when it didn't rain, Liz would share her own water from her tanks to the garden. Seagulls had visited the garden, but also some yellow finches, robins, and maybe if lucky, a white dove. If Liz was lucky, some butterflies visited the garden during spring. When the weather grew cold, the Sodor Construction Company had made a small cover to protect the garden, almost like a greenhouse, where Liz's crew would still take care of it. Liz loved everything about the garden, and she couldn't be more happy to her friends for building it for her.